will issues like school infrastructure backlogs be addressed in the Finance Minister Tito Mboweni's budget speech? We all heard President Ramaphosa say education remains a priority for the government. That was during his State of the Nation address. Well, Equal Education's Hopolang Selebalo joins us now via Skype, and she speaks to us from Cape Town. Hopolang, good morning to you. So, if we start with the primary school phase, that's the phase that has the most dilapidated schools, and some are still being educated under trees as we speak in the Eastern Cape, for example. What do you expect the Finance Minister to do, or how much do you expect him to give that phase?
I mean, I was listening to you when you said that the President spoke about prioritizing education in his State of the Nation address. Minister Tito Mboweni had said the same in his previous budget speech in 2019 about education being a priority. But over the years, we've seen cuts to the sector and to infrastructure grants as well. So this relates to your question about how much money is going to be allocated to eradicate backlogs. In terms of poor infrastructure, that's across the board. There's not necessarily primary schools. Rural provinces in particular, Eastern Cape predominantly, Limpopo face school infrastructure challenges and have a high number of backlogs in relation to inappropriate schools such as mud schools and sanitation in particular. But it's a pity that over the last 3 or so years, we've been seeing cuts to the sector. And we know that in 2018, if I remember correctly, the then Minister of Finance announced that there would be 7 billion rand shaved off infrastructure grants over the medium term. Well, so we don't know what the intention is. How is education a priority when money is being taken away from education and more money is being given to bailout state-owned entities?
Hopolang, just briefly on the element about the sanitation, and that's in particular the toilets, pit toilets.
Yes.
We know that the President commissioned an audit of these toilets as to how many there are in the country. Do you know where or what the update is in as far as that audit is concerned?
So the latest, what we call the National Education Infrastructure Management System, it's a database that the Department of Basic Education holds. Figures from the August 2019 put sanitation backlogs, as in schools with only plain pit latrines and no other form of sanitation, just under 4,000 of those schools. So there has been some slight progress over the years, but there's still far too many schools that face dangerous sanitation conditions. Yeah. Like I said, particularly in rural provinces. So you find that the KZN figure is very high, and the Eastern Cape figure is very high when it comes to sanitation backlogs. The norms and standards for school infrastructure spoke about the eradication of these pit latrines in 2016. This should have been done 3 years ago.
Higher education sector, what are the key challenges there?
So we know that since fee-free education was announced, that a certain portion of the budget towards higher education was increased. In terms of the practicalities, the realities of students actually receiving their subsidies on time in terms of food subsidies, accommodation, the conversations that we've had is that the budget increase is not being felt by students. So that budget isn't necessarily translating into the experience of students in post-school youth. Or students in higher education.
All right.
But we expect that there may be increases there.
All right.